Summer in FEH has started, and this is going to be my unit review and builds guide for Summer Gullveig, Hrid, Olivia, Nerthuz, and Vaike. So let us start with Duo Gullveig, who is going to be the star of the banner, as she can act a lot of times, and she's a red mage cavalier this time with golden sunlight as her preferred weapon. This gives her minus on special cooldown, making time and light into one cooldown special, which you can easily pre-charge or even trigger it on your second combat or on your double. And in the combat, she's able to get these stats depending on the number of foes in 3 rows and 3 columns centered on her, multiplied by 3 and then added by 5. So this is going to be treated as max 14 in her second combat in both phases. So even if you kill foes, you're still going to be able to get plus 14 to all of your stats. And she also gets true damage based on 20% of her speed. Unfortunately, unlike Brave Gullveig, this is not going to be getting added into your AoE specials. So that's a big bummer, but still, she's able to AoE nuke fairly well because she has got a lot of extractions. And extra actions is what is needed on a Gale Force team. She also gets 50% damage reduction piercing in the combat, so that's better than Mythic Gullveig and Brave Gullveig, which they don't really have. And it's definitely one of the things which they are lacking. And in the player phase, when she initiates combat, she's going to be able to get 70% damage reduction from foes' first attacks, including the Brave hits, and then she has got the Gale Force at the cost of inflicting the gravity status on herself, which is not the biggest deal as you're able to have multiple actions and you're basically able to fall into the Wings of Mercy range or even work as a Wings of Mercy Gale Force unit yourself. And she comes with Time and Light, which is a bit of an upgrade from Mythic Gullveig, so this is going to be boosting damage by 30% of her speed, and it does have Null Guard built in. So this allows you to easily trigger it on your double, and if the special triggered, then you're going to be getting another action and pretty much Gale Force, again at the cost of having the gravity status. And she also has a duo skill that is more reminiscent of ninja units, giving you another action if you've already entered in combat in that turn. So this is also another Gale Force, so she's able to act 4 times in a single turn, which is quite a lot, and you don't really need to run her preferred special a lot of the times, and you can even tech by running the AoE specials because she's still going to be having 3 actions. So I find her to be incredibly good for Aether Raids offense, and obviously if you plus and merge her, then she's going to be a really good high scoring unit with that 205 BST, and she's going to be making arena quite easy for you. But because she's a cavalry unit and not a flyer like Brave Gullveig, sometimes it can be a bit annoying because we do have a lot of trench maps in arena. If you want to get some extra damage on your AoE specials, then I guess Speed Resistance Fortress 4 can help you with that. And it also gives you Canto 1 at the bare minimum. So this can help with the multiple actions for retreating and also just placing Gullveig on traps like Heavy Trap or Bold Trap and testing it out. And she's going to be away from her team. So once she has already killed some units, she could try and step on the traps and make way for her allies. And she also comes with a new skill in Odd Speed Wave 4. So this is going to be giving plus 6 speed to unit and the allies in 2 spaces. And if you win the speed check, then you can get the full null follow-up. And on the odd number turns, you're going to be getting plus 6 speed in the combat. So getting the full null follow-up is good because that's one thing that she's missing from her kits. And this is going to be helpful for many of the range flyers and cavaliers because they didn't really have easy access to null follow-up. But still, a lot of the times you can outsource null follow-up as it has gotten easier. So most of the infantry units can just run actual null follow-up skills and they don't really need Odd Speed Wave occupying their slotsy skill. She also has base 47 speed, which does have a super boon, which most of the time people are going to be picking, but if you're going to be AoE nuking with her, then attack asset is going to be helping you. So overall, she is a really solid Aether Raids offense unit for many of the Gale Force teams, either as an initiator or as a Wings of Mercy unit, but we have a lot of Gale Force tools right now, so if you already have a lot of them, then you don't really need her that badly, and she's not really going to be functioning too much in Aether Raids defense or Summer Duels, and she's mainly going to be focusing in Aether Raids offense and also in arena if you're going to be merging her up to plus 10. If you're going to be building her up on a budget, then you can run an offensive Sacred Seal like Blade Session or Attack Speed Solo or even Attack Speed Catch. And if you're going to be using her in Aether Raids offense, then she could even work as a Wings of Mercy follow-up unit because a lot of the time she might not be able to kill a Far Savior unit on the first initiation, so she could work as a follow-up unit instead. So Wings of Mercy 4 could be used for that usage, and you can also run her as an initiator by running the Double Fury build. So you're going to be falling into the Wings of Mercy range in 2 combats, and she's going to be having 4 actions essentially. So after you take out their duo or harmonic units, or even take out their duo hindrance, then you're going to be able to use that duo button, but you should not always rely on it because a team might have a lot of duo or harmonic units which you're not able to kill right away. So using this, she could work as an initiator, and if you have Wings of Mercy 4 on many of your units, then it is going to be even easier. And just like Brave Gullveig, she can be used with an AoE special, and that could be helpful in initiating against many of the Far Saviors. She doesn't really get the true damage added into her AoE special, but still, you're going to be getting 3 actions even when you take out her preferred special and run something like Blazing Wind instead. And you're able to have a 2 cooldown Blazing Wind with Emblem Marth, and then you could pre-charge it by using Veluria or by using Bright Embla or by using Duo Chrom and pretty much repositioning her like 2 times. And Garrick and Asker could also be used in combination to pre-charge this kind of AoE special. So it's similar to what Brave Gullveig can do, and she can also do it incredibly well. Hrid, in my opinion, is also just as much of a star of the banner because of his frozen status, which is quite absurd. So he has got Princess Lance as his preferred weapon, giving him minus in special cooldown, and it can also give him plus X to all of his stats, and this can go up to max 14, depending on 25% of foe's visible attack, subtracted with 4. And just like original version of Hrid, he also comes with an in-combat panic effect, but now he does the panic on all of these stats of the enemies. So it can help him in the game modes where you're going to be facing buffed up foes, and then he also gets 40% damage reduction in the combat. He also heals up HP on his special triggers, and this is going to be depending on the maximum special cooldown count, multiplied by 20 and then added by 10, and it can even go up to max 100%. So with Bonfire and No Quarter, he's able to heal up 50% of his HP on the special triggers, which is definitely not that bad, and he wants to run those 2 specials depending on the investment. And he also comes with a tier 4 version of a wave skill, an odd defense wave. So just like the other tier 4 wave skill on this banner, this is going to be giving you plus 6 defense to yourself and the allies in 2 spaces, and if the unit wins the defense check, then they get the full tempo effect. This is going to be really helpful for many of the cavalry units and even flyers, as you'll see, and on the odd number turns you're able to get plus 6 defense in the combat. So getting the full tempo effect is really good when you're going to be retaliating back with something like No Quarter. One of the better users of this skill is going to be Legendary Seaguard, who don't really get the best of the weapon refine, and he's kind of missing on the tempo effect to trigger his special easily. So this could be run in his Thoughtsei, and you could also run this on Travant and Young Minerva because they already get the special charges status from their weapon, and they can retaliate back with No Quarter that can pierce to the damage reduction of the enemy. So it is really helpful on them, and you can still run Soaring Echo as the attune skill and enable the warping of your allies. This can also help with Wyvern Drift if you're going to be running that, and both of these units also have Guard in their weapon, which is going to be synergizing really well with the full tempo effect. And unless they have Null Guard themselves, they're not triggering a special against you. Rain Snap is going to be a skill that you're going to be missing out on, but you can just run them with Arian or Legendary Hinoka and still give them the extra movement with the chart status. Coming back to Hrid, he has got his Thoughtbee skill in Ice Princess Seal, and this is going to be a really cracked supportive tool that he's going to be able to run. So this is going to be debuffing the foes that are closest and the foes in 2 spaces of them for -7 speed and defense debuff, and it also puts Frozen status and the Guard status on them. So just like original version of Hrid, he's going to be able to inflict that Guard status, which is not the biggest deal because a lot of nukes nowadays do have Null Guard, but the Frozen status is absolutely a big deal, and I'll go why it is in a moment. And in the combat himself, he's able to inflict -5 attack speed and defense debuff on the foe, and he also gets the guaranteed follow-up attack out of this, and he also has the combination of true damage and flat damage reduction based on 20% of his defense. So getting the flat damage reduction is going to be helping him function as a bulky cavalier. That is going to be pretty hard to function in that role, but at least he's doing a much better job than the original version of Hrid. And Frozen status not only helps him with his insane high defense at base 47, but it can also help any other ally who has got really high defense. So basically it is going to be increasing the amount of speed the foe needs to double you, and it also makes it easier for you to double the enemy. And this is going to be having a defense check, and if you win the defense check, then the foe needs plus X speed to double you, and this X is going to be 10 plus the difference in the stats times 2. And if you don't really win the speed check, then X is still going to be 10. So this can be really absurd with many of the high defense units, and this is why Summer Hrid and Frozen status is so busted because it is going to be making it easier for your slow tanks to double the enemies, and you're not going to be getting doubled by many of the fast nukes. So it completely changes the dynamics of speed, and a lot of your slower tanks are now going to be able to bypass null follow-up in a way. And this frozen status is not going to be at the top priority of getting cleansed by someone like Attune Micaiah. So if you were wondering if this is going to be getting cleansed for something like Summoner Duels, it's definitely not going to be the first status to get cleansed. But keep in mind that there is going to be Freyr who's able to cleanse this status in the Anima season, so you're mainly going to be using him in the Light season if you're going to be using him for Aether Raids offense. And the frozen status doesn't really have a cap, so the more defense you have got compared to the enemy, the better it is going to be for you. And it's going to be very powerful with units like Diamant and also with skills like Wyvern Rift. If you want to give a slot A skill to Summer Reed, then you could run him with Attack Defense Catch from Zeke in the Divine Codes. And if you cannot really run the tier 4 version, then you can still run the tier 3 version from Arian, Sedgar, or Sylvain. If you want to give him a bit better skills, then you could run him with Attack Defense Clash. This is going to be giving you the attack and defense, debuff neutralization, and No Quarter as the special is going to be better than Bonfire because it has got the damage reduction piercing, and it goes well with the tempo effect of his odd defense wave. And if you want to make him even better as a support unit, then you could run him with Breath of Life 4. And the best slot A skill for him has not really been released yet, but whenever it comes out, it is going to be his best slot A skill so that he could stack up more flat damage reduction with his slot B skill. Odd Defense Wave is still a pretty nice skill, but Breath of Life can give you that healing, which is helpful against the pre-combat damage if you're going to be using Summer Reed to tank. And even as a support unit, he's going to be providing Breath of Life to his other allies. Nerthuz is a Green Beast Cavalier this time, and she has got her weapon Love of Nerthuz, which gives her minus some special cooldown. And instead of combat, if her HP is at or above 25%, then she can get up to max 14 to all of her stats. This is going to be depending on the number of allies in 3 rows and 3 columns centered on her, multiplied by 3 and then added by 5. And she also gets the full null follow-up effect out of this weapon. She does get 40% damage reduction on foes' first attacks, including the brave hits. And then she provides some amazing support to the allies in 3 rows and 3 columns centered on her. And she also gives this to herself, so you're going to be getting damage reduction piercing on your special triggers. And the amount of damage reduction piercing you get is going to be dependent on the unit's maximum special cooldown count, multiplied by 30 and then added with 10. So this can go up to max 100% if you've got a 3 cooldown special. So she's going to be having a 3 cooldown Dragon Fang, and she also gives special cooldown -1 jump before your first attack if your damaging special's max special cooldown is at or above 3. So this allows you to easily trigger Dragon Fang with Nerthuz and get the full damage reduction piercing, and this kind of passive damage reduction piercing support is really good that you can give to your allies. The special jumping which you can give is going to be stacking up with the other special jumping from Rally Spectrum or from a weapon like Golden Yulbo Plus. Fruit of Life has been changed to Under the Sun, and this is going to be giving her Canto 2. So unlike regular Nerthuz, she doesn't really need to run an alarm skill, and she also debuffs the enemy's speed and defense by -5. This also gives her the Null Guard and also true damage based on 20% of her speed. And just like New York Nerthuz, she's going to be getting flat damage reduction on foe's first attack equal to 25% of her speed. So this is going to be making her deceptively bulky even in the enemy phase. And she also has damage reflection on foe's first attack, so this is kind of expected out of her, and then she heals up 7 HP after the combat, which does help her function in the mix phase. I kind of wish that she got some special charges because it would have been nice to run Gale Force on her. You can still use Gale Force, but it is not going to be getting the damage reduction piercing or the special jumping. And because she's going to be having relatively free slots of skills, she brings Beast Threaten as an upgrade of Threaten Defense, which is going to be a really good skill for many of the Beast units. So at start of turn, it is going to be inflicting -7 defense debuff and the panic status on the foes in 3 rows and 3 columns centered on her. And it is also going to be giving her +6 attack and also the Time Pulse effect. So this, along with her special jumping and the Null Guard, is going to be making it really easy to trigger the specials. And this is going to be a pretty nice skill for many of the Beast Flyers that just want to Gale Force. So Naysala is going to be one example of that, and he doesn't really want to run Rain Snap or any other slotsy skill, and this is going to be better than the Rain skill because you're going to be getting that panic status on the enemy and also the Time Pulse effect. And if you use Flame Tribe Mordecai in Arena, then Beast Threaten could be used as a way to support your team because you're going to be having a really wide range for the Panic, which is going to be helping you in Arena where a lot of people are going to be having those rally skills. So this way he can add even more value to your team. And when it comes to getting the value for your team, you can also run this on Mythic Freya. She already has the Neotrace effect in her weapon, and you can have a 2 cooldown Gale Force with Emblem Marth and Beast Threaten. So this way she's able to provide more value to your team and also debuff the enemies. And there's no Freyr in the Dark Season, and this is going to be helpful if you're going to be tanking with another unit, and then she could help you clean up with that Gale Force and the Null Guard from her Sloppy skill. She does have base 47 speed, and it does have a super boon, so that is going to be the main asset you're going to be picking. And then if you're going to be ascending an asset, then attack could be the other option that you could do. On a budget, she could just be run with her base kit and with the new Beast Sacred Seal, which is going to be removing any kind of condition to transform. So Nerthuz doesn't really have access to any of that effect, so it could be run as a Sacred Seal. But if you just want to stack up the offenses, then attack speed catch is going to be the Sacred Seal you could run. And you could also use her with Miracle, even though you are not going to be getting the damage reduction piercing and the special jumping on this, but it is still helpful in something like Summoner Duels with attack speed wild. And because Nerthuz is going to be really fast with flat damage reduction and with null follow-up, it is going to be making it hard for the enemy to double you, and Hardy Bearing can help you against the Desperation nukes that are going to be there with the Firestorm Dancers. And this is a high investment build that you could do with attack speed wild, giving you these special charges to make it easier to trigger Miracle. And she could be on the front lines, and Beast Threaten can definitely be helpful depending on the map layout. Summer Olivia is the 4-star focus unit of this banner, and she's a colorless flying mage with Sea Tambourine Plus as the inedible weapon. She doesn't really have a lot of options being a colorless mage when it comes to her weapon options, so she's mainly going to be running this weapon because she can give the +6 attack and speed buff to herself and the allies in 2 spaces, and it is going to be having a speed check where it is going to be giving her the full null follow-up, and on the even number turns it is going to be giving you +5 attack and speed, but on the odd number turns it is going to be +11 attack and speed. But Olivia a lot of the times is not going to be attacking, and she's mainly going to be there supporting her allies. She does have base 45 speed with a super boon, so that is going to be the main asset you can pick up. And for the fodder, she has got attack speed Fortrace and attack speed Rain as the bridge fodder. Unfortunately, Summer Olivia is going to be stuck in a weird limbo where she doesn't have a lot of options as a colorless mage, and because she doesn't have a preferred dance, she's really not going to be standing out much compared to many of the refreshers that could be run. And we have got so many dancers with a preferred assist that can give you even more things as they refresh you, and she doesn't really have the highest resistance, so she's not going to be able to use the ploy skills or the sabotage skills to support her allies. But because she's a flying unit, she can definitely run Soaring Guidance or Soaring Echo or Guidance 4 and provide that as a support. If you're going to be building her up on a budget, then you can speed refine her weapon and give her Moonbow as the special, and Fury could be run. It doesn't really matter too much because you're going to be just mainly supporting her allies, and Defense Tactic could be run so that you can give another visible buff to your allies along with her weapon. But if you want to give her some expensive skills, then Firestorm Dance 3 could be run from the Divine Codes, and even though it overlaps with the visible buffs of her weapon, the Desperation status is still a lot better than the dot status that you get from Rock Slide Dance. So that's why I've got Firestorm Dance here, and then attack speed unity could be the Slotty skill that you could run for her Slotty. And if you get any kind of debuffs on her, then she's going to be able to use the skill really well. And she's going to be a flying dancer, providing the warping with Soaring Guidance. If you have attuned Azura and her fodder, then you could give her attack defense cantrip, and unfortunately this is not going to be giving you the Canto 1 like Firestorm Dance 3, but still, this is a supportive option that you could go for. And since you're going to be getting the skills from attuned Azura, you're going to be able to get Firestorm Boost 3 and also Mercy Wing Echo. But you could also run her with the Crux skill and provide that as the support to your allies. So that is also one of the ways of providing support, especially if you're going to be running Soaring Echo as the attune skill on her. And then she could be run with Firestorm Dance or Rock Slide Dance depending on which kind of dance you've got available. Summer Vaike is going to be completing the entire playable roster of Awakening, and this is the first roster to be completed in FEH for any kind of game. The second closed one is going to be 3 houses, but Summer Vaike is here as an Axe Infantry unit with Tropical Conch Plus as the inedible axe. So this is going to be working similar to Olivia's weapon, but instead of having the speed wave built into it, it has got the odd defense wave. So you're going to be able to give out the +6 attack and defense buff to yourself and the allies in 2 spaces. And if you win the defense check, then you're going to be getting the full tempo effect, and you can get +11 attack and defense in the combat on the odd numbered turns. He also has attack defense finish 3 at 5-star, which is going to be a really valuable bridge fodder if you're going to be foddering off someone like Diamant. But weirdly enough, he has got attack defense link, which doesn't make any kind of sense with his weapon, which already gives you the visible buffs, and then he has got the finish skill without having a special. So it's a bit strange, but that's pretty much intelligent system sometimes. And looking at his stats, he's going to be having 42 base defense with a super boon, and he also has resistance super boon, but mainly you're going to be using his defense and attack given this kind of stat spread, and he could easily be compared to the last year's Summer Donald or even Wintry Fuga. And you can see that he's slightly going to be having just 1 extra point of attack compared to Summer Donald, so he's not looking too hot right now. And compared to Wintry Fuga, Fuga is just going to be having better defense, which is going to be helping you run Lagu's friend, and he also has much better resistance. And then the most insane competition for him is going to be in the form of Fargus, who's an amazing arena scoring unit because he has got the full tempo effect in his Corsair Cleaver, and he can score as a 205 BST unit in arena, which cannot really be said for our Teach over here. Unfortunately, Vaike comes with a pretty weird stat spread, and it's a really competitive class type, and it's going to be hard to justify building him up over someone like Fargus, who's going to be giving you more value in arenas, and only people who really like him are going to be building him up. So if you're going to be using him on a budget, then you could give him Guard, which is going to be having good synergy with the full tempo of his weapon, and Attack Smoke could be run as the budget skill. Steady Breath could be run so that you could retaliate back with Moonbow because of the null guard that you get out of his weapon. And again, the special charges are going to be good with his weapon. So this is a decent budget build for something like Tempest Trials. But if you're going to be investing a bit more into him, then Lagu's friend is going to be the best obvious skill that you could run on him. This gives him true damage and flat damage reduction based on his defense, which is pretty high. And you also get full damage reduction piercing. Now, unfortunately, there's no variant of godlike reflexes for the slower units, so Ignis is going to be your special of choice here, and it could be run with Time Pulse 4 and Attack Defense Finish from Diamant. And Acts of Devotion is a pretty nice option if you don't have access to Arcane Threema, and its pre-combat damage is going to be helping you easily kill the enemies with the absurd amount of damage that you could get out of Ignis triggers. And at max investment, he could be run with Earth Fire Boost 3 as a slotted skill, and Arcane Threema is pretty much going to be his better weapon because it also has the full tempo effect but does so much more compared to his inhittable weapon. So the guard effect of Earth Fire Boost is going to be having good synergy with the full tempo effect, and Breath of Life 4 is going to be helping you against the pre-combat damage and also helps you with the healing. You could run Guard Attune skill and still run him with Attack Defense Finish 4, so that is also an option. And he wants to run Ignis so that he could retaliate back with it with the special jumping of Lagu's friend and the null guard of Arcane Threema. I want to thank all of my YouTube members for the constant support, and you can click the link on the screen right now to check out my format building guide for this month's holo forms, and make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as the amount of options for the weapon that Summer Olivia has got. So that's it, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.